Hello, our dear viewers. Thank you for watching MRIU TV. This is Poko Poko News. I'm Babazi Sharon. Let's first have the headlines and then we'll be right back with the news in details. German plans Beirut report construction with conditions. Tanzanian doctors pin hopes on new president for COVID turnaround. Divisive and discriminatory United Kingdom members of Parliament to oppose COVID passport. Anti-India protests erupt in Kashmir after troops kill 3 rebels. 7 Texas officers after probe into black inmates' death. Germany will next week present a multi-billion-dollar proposal to Lebanese authorities to rebuild the port of Beirut. Nakavma Angela reports.
Germany will next week present a multi-billion-dollar proposal to Lebanese authorities to rebuild the port of Beirut as part of efforts to entice the country's politicians to form a government capable of warding off financial collapse. A chemical explosion at the port last August killed about 200 people, injured thousands, and destroyed entire neighborhoods in Lebanon's capital, plunging the country deeper into its worst political and economic crisis since the 1975 to 1990 civil war. According to 2 diplomatic sources with knowledge of the plans, Germany and France were vying to lead reconstruction efforts. Berlin will on April 7th outline a proposal that the European Investment Bank has agreed to help fund that would clear the area, reconstruct facilities.
Travel from the Philippines, Pakistan, Kenya and Bangladesh is to be banned from next week, the government says. Nakavma Angela reports.
Travel from the Philippines, Pakistan, Kenya and Bangladesh is to be banned from next week, the government says. They are being added to England's red list amid concerns about the spread of new COVID-19 variants. From 4 a.m. on 19th April, international visitors who have traveled from or through those countries in the previous 10 days will be refused entry. An exception is made for British or Irish passport holders for people with UK residence rights.
Tanzanian doctors have expressed hope for the arrival of a new change to the country's questionable handling of the pandemic. Nakavma Angela reports.
Throttled by late President John Magufuli's coronavirus denialism, Tanzanian doctors have expressed hope for the arrival of a new change to the country's questionable handling of the pandemic. Magufuli's vice president and successor, Samia Suluhu Hassan, announced on March 7th that the 16-year-old had died from a pre-existing heart condition, but many suspect Magufuli, who had not been seen in public for weeks, passed away from COVID-19 complications. In June last year, Magufuli declared his country had been beaten the virus through prayer. Authorities had already stopped registering cases and deaths since May at that time. Tanzania had 509 cases and 21 deaths and warned of strong measures against those who allegedly spread false information.
7 officers involved in the custody death of black jail inmates in Texas. Naboye Peace reports.
7 officers involved in the in-custody death of black jail inmate in Texas, whose family members say may have been suffering a mental crisis, have been fired, a sheriff said. The detention officers violated sheriff's office policies and procedures leading up to the death of Marvin Scott III, Collin County Sheriff Jim Skinner said in a news release on Thursday, and adds on that an 8th officer resigned. Scott, who is 23, Lee was arrested on 14th March at an outlet mall in Allen on marijuana possession charge. Authorities have said Allen officers took Scott to a hospital because he was reportedly acting erratically. Scott was released and police took him to the county jail.
Legislators from across the political spectrum and rights group condemn plans to use certificates as an authoritarian step, Naboya Peace reports.
Legislators from across the political spectrum and rights groups condemn plans to use certificates as an authoritarian step. More than 70 legislators, including 41 MPs from Prime Minister Boris Johnson's ruling Conservative Party, have said they would oppose so-called vaccine passports in a rare show of cross-party unity in the United Kingdom. The UK, like several other countries, is considering making such certificates mandatory to help to open the economy as it starts lifting COVID-19 lockdown restrictions. We oppose the divisive and discriminatory use of COVID status certification to deny individuals access to general services, businesses, or jobs, said the statement published by the opposing legislators on Friday.
At least 4 civilians were injured in the protests against the killing of 3 suspected rebels by Indian soldiers in Indian-administered Kashmir, Naboya Peace reports.
At least 4 civilians were injured in the protest against the killing of the 3 suspected rebels by Indian soldiers in the Indian-administered Kashmir. And India protests have erupted in a village in Indian-administered Kashmir following the killing of 3 suspected rebel fighters in a gun battle with an Indian troop in Plama district, police and residents said. The gunfight erupted shortly after scores of counterinsurgents, police, and soldiers launched an operation based on a tip-off about the presence of rebels in Kakopra village in southern Plama district, Inspector General Virgil Kumal said on Friday. Kumal claimed 2 of the 3 slain men had been involved in fatally shooting a policeman guarding the home of a local politician from India's governing party in the region main city of Srinagar on Thursday.
Thank you for watching Poko Poko News at MRIU TV, and don't forget to subscribe to our media platforms: Twitter at MRIU, Facebook MRIU TV, and YouTube MRIU TV. I remain Babazi Sharon.